Is the sky, in fact, falling when it comes to the markets in 2024? And if not, is there anything that we should be prepared for? Thanks so much for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart of Welcome Home Financial Partners. You can find them online, welcomehomefp.com. You can also give a call, 804-635-3550. Once again, 804-635-3550. My name is Chris Swan, and I'm pleased to be joined every episode with Ralph, Tim, and Scott. Gentlemen, glad to be with you. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you, Chris?
Doing well. As much as we appreciate the listeners taking time, appreciate you taking some time out of your schedules to spend with them and educate them and hopefully give them a little bit of comfort as they get ready to enter into retirement. There's so much out there that I think can provide some uncertainty and a little bit of discomfort. And honestly, sometimes the media and economists don't help. The stock market, for example, it surprised a lot of people last year with a big comeback. But Harry Dent, a gentleman known for his less than rosy outlooks on things, he is at it again. He says that this year, well, let me just go ahead and play it for you.
These markets are stretched, especially with the biggest tightening since the early 80s, one of the biggest ever by the Fed. That will knock the economy down and lag, even though it's not showing yet. It's not showing it because it happens on a year and a half lag. Everything does. That's where the Fed gets in trouble, this big lag. Remember that the next wave down should take us back to the COVID lows, which is going to be down 50 to 60% for the various U.S. major indices.
Can always count on Mr. Dent there for a sunny outlook. He is saying that this year will perhaps be the biggest crash of our lifetime and recommends staying out of the market for the next 6 to 12 months and then looking for opportunities after the crash. Guys, what do you make of what he said?
I'm not going to say Dent is wrong, but I'm also not going to tell you he's right. I mean, if we look at 2024 and what we see ahead of us there, we've got a lot of unknowns. There's, some geopolitical stuff. We are entering into a national election year. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of unknowns coming at us in the new year here. However, Tim's
and everybody's really excited about the election.
Yeah, everybody is very excited about it. But however, we could say that about just about any year, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Anybody that makes a blanket statement that this is going to happen, they shouldn't be. I wouldn't put that out there publicly. But with that in mind, what I'd say is rather than staying away from one specific sector, it's a good time to take a hard look at where your portfolio is. What are your exposures? Are you diversified? Are you getting the advice that you need? Or do you have access to the products or the strategies that could help you weather the storm if Dent's right, or if 2023 repeats itself and we have another banner year unexpectedly, are you able to capture that? So what I tell everybody is if you don't have access to that type of advice or those other options, get a second opinion. Give somebody like Welcome Home Financial Partners a call. We'd love to sit down with you and give you a second opinion on how we would approach it with you.
Yeah, and with Dent's audio, I mean, that's a very optimistic look, if you will. But you hear people say this all the time. Everybody wants to be the one to call the shot, right? So I wouldn't sit there and be concerned about necessarily, depending on your age, what he's stating, because we don't know, like Scott says, we don't have the crystal ball. We don't know what the market's going to do. We've got some good indicators, but at the end of the day, the market's going to do what it's going to do. So if you're going to say, hey, for the next 6 to 12 months, I'm going to pull all my money out of the market, what if we have another banner year, right? So if you put all your money in cash or you put it in a money market account and the market's up 20, 25%, now you're making 3 or 4%, then what did you really accomplish, right? Just based off somebody who doesn't seem to be interested in sunshine and rainbows. So you need to take a look at having different options. I wouldn't say put everything into one spot. I wouldn't say completely vacate the market. It's going to be based off everybody's individual situation. But the important thing is that you can't time the market. And if anybody is trying to time the market, you're going to get bit by the market at some point in time, right? So it's all about being patient. If you've got money in the market, it has to be patient money.
What I would say is I've been listening to Harry Dent since the 80s. He has definitely changed his attitude over the past several decades. But the thing that I'm always amazed at is these public financial experts that we have to listen to. And of course, on the internet, it's always the truth, correct? So one of the things that I'm always amazed at is these public financial experts that you listen to, they appear to be accurate, but they're rather more than likely not. So all of a sudden, just the appearance is what makes people do things, because he must be knowing what he's talking about because he's on TV or because he's on the radio, or he writes books, or he has $200,000 speaking fees, because he must be that good, because if somebody gets that, all of a sudden, then you hear something about something that they did wrong, and you say, oh my God, what's going on now? So I just take it from a serious grain of salt when you hear things on TV like that, predictions, projections, and all that, because nobody knows. If they did, they probably would be in Vegas and making plenty of money doing that, gambling. But you need to have somebody that can understand what you're doing, understand where you need to be. And it's not a short-term fix. It's a long-term process to get to where you want to go in retirement. Would you agree?
I think you make a really good point there, Ralph. I've met, and I'm sure you two have, I've met with a ton of people that say, oh, this talking head on this channel or so-and-so said that we need to be doing this. And really, they're making blanket statements, generalized statements. They're not sitting down across the table with you as an individual to understand what your goals are, what your position is. It's real easy for Dent to say, hey, we're going to lose 40% of our market value just in a blanket statement. But what if the majority of your holdings aren't market exposed? Or, how can we take advantage of that? It's not just because it's said on TV, like Ralph said, doesn't make it universally true or even accurate.
But the internet does.
That's 100% true. If I read it on the internet, it's true.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are trying to push you in one way or another, right? So, I don't know what Dent has, to push people towards, but a lot of people have an agenda that they're trying to steer you into it. So I think that's what people need to, like Ralph says, take it with a big grain of salt is, it could happen, but we don't know. So what's kind of the ulterior motive at that point?
I would also say one thing is that if you change your channel or change listening to podcasts or radio, you're probably going to hear say, oh, 4% withdrawal is a great way to do it. An 8%, if you change the channel, might be a different one. So who's right, who's wrong? That's the thing that you have to understand. You have to get the information, and then you have to make a determination. You just can't blame somebody because you listen to them. You have to take responsibility. Get a second opinion.
Yeah, and that's the important thing is sit down with somebody. Take the initiative, take, reasonable action, because nobody's asking you to do a whole lot. There's a little bit of prep work, but it's not much. And, we've found in the past that people are so willing to spend months to plan a week or two vacation during the summer. But, if you're going to live 20, 30 years in retirement, maybe even longer, if you're fortunate enough, you need to take the time. So, 2 or 3 meetings of an hour each, what's that going to be in the grand scheme of things? Because I don't know about you, but once I retire, I'm retiring one time and it's going to be golden.
Are you saying I need to spend more time worrying about my finances and less time worrying about my golf vacations?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I know that's a shock to you, Scott.
It hurts. That hurts me deep.
These guys, I kind of want to equate them to meteorologists because they can go out there and they can say these things on TV, get people's attention. And if they're wrong, there's no real fallout for them. But here's the thing.
They still get paid.
Yeah. They're back at the office the next day.
Exactly. But at the same time, a stop clock is wrong twice a day. Eventually, if he says every year, oh, this is going to be a bad one, this is going to be a bad one, he's going to be right. But, but more often than not, as you guys pointed out, he's probably going to be off the mark. Maybe this isn't a bad year. We certainly hope that. But here's what we do know. This is an election year. Yes, there's an election every 2 years. That's going to be consistent in your retirement. If that is what causes you to have concern, then I think now is a good time to have that second opinion. There's going to be market fluctuation over the course of your retirement. It's going to go up and down. Geopolitical, always. It's always going to exist. And so if you are concerned about these factors, now is a great time to take a look at how you're allocated, how your plan is set up. Speak with somebody who does have accountability, who does have skin in the game, and that is their credibility and also, their very livelihood working with you. Get that second opinion from the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners. And, if you like what you want to hear and you want to pursue that further and start developing that plan, so be it. It all starts with picking up the phone, giving a call, 804-635-3550, or going to the website at welcomehomefp.com. As Ralph Timmett Scott have said, those first couple of visits, 45 minutes, an hour of your time. That first one is a get to know you phase. You're not going to be presented with a plan right there because that's impossible. They have to know the ins and outs, what you want to achieve in your retirement, start developing it from there. But it is something that is going to be customized for you. That is what I think everybody wants out there. They want that retirement that is best for them, being able to know that all these things are going to happen down the line and control what you can control. So yes, the market's always going to be a concern, but if you have a strategy in place, you can account for those fluctuations and, know that when the market sees its major downturns, perhaps you're not affected by that. Also, one thing, to be fair, that he said that I think is correct is that when the market does see a crash, that is a great time to deploy and actually invest if you've got the means to do so. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. But, it's going to be based off everybody's situation. Mm-hmm. So if you leave all of your money in the market and now you're down 50%, then are you going to, just start putting more money in? You might not have any more money to put in, but there's always going to be opportunities no matter what the market condition is. If we do drop 30, 40, 50, God forbid 60%, there's going to be opportunities, but do you know when the lowest point is? You don't. So that's where it goes back to timing. You got to make sure that you've got things in order to where you can flourish no matter what the market condition dictates.
One thing also I would say to you is a lot of these financial experts that they promote themselves as such, are they licensed to do the things? Are they fiduciaries? Are they regulated by the FINRA, SEC to make sure that they don't do the things that they're not supposed to do? That's another question I always have because a lot of these people are not licensed to do the things that we do. Would you agree, Scott?
Oh, I'd absolutely agree. I mean, I don't know about everybody, but I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have made, I've heard a lot of statements on television that if one of us were to make them publicly, we'd have a regulator knocking on our door saying, what the heck are you doing? So
again, it's all about that accountability. And, I've seen people, they share financial advice that they find on TikTok. These people have like usernames like JoeBob4197. I would venture to say they don't have a license, but, coming in and sitting down and speaking with the team at Welcome Home Financial Partners, again, as fiduciaries, acting in the client's best interest, they're going to educate you, they're going to empower you, and if you would choose to pursue further, help you develop that plan to take into all these unknowns and account for them down the line. But I want to focus now, before we wrap up, on one thing that is definitely known, and we know when it's going to happen, the tax rates that we're in right now, the so-called Trump tax cuts. They were signed into law in 2017. They're due to expire at the end of next year, so 2025. It's getting closer and closer every second, and that window for taking advantage of them, it is shutting. If Congress doesn't do anything before they sunset, yeah, exactly. We could see changes in the form of higher tax rates, lower standard deductions, lower estate tax exemptions. So we know that this is almost certainly going to come down the line. How do we plan now for that bad news if it happens?
I would say number one is you have to be prepared for that. Start taking a look at particularly business owners, particularly retirees, because all of a sudden you may not be able to deduct all those things as a business owner. It's your estate might be cut in half just because of that. So let's take advantage of that, have a plan, start thinking about how can we reduce the estate through proper planning. Also, this income taxes, if it comes to fruition, then you better be prepared to jump your income taxes.
Yeah, and hopefully you've been taking advantage of it since it was signed into law, right? We've been talking to a lot of our clients about things you can do, Roth conversions, doing them now. If income taxes do go up, and of course a lot of it's going to depend on the election, but we can't control politicians, nor can they. So we need to worry about what we can control, and that's making sure that we do talk about tax planning in your retirement income years, because that's so often overlooked, to where if you're in a 22% bracket, now you're going up to 27 or whatever it would be, that's going to affect your paycheck that you're creating for yourself. So it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep, and taxes have a big play of that.
Sure. I mean, the legislation that was signed into law in 2017 was the first major tax legislation since the mid 90s. So there are going to be some changes. But one thing that people overlook is our tax code changes pretty much every year. The earnings caps, things like that change every year. So what you need to do is have a financial professional that understands distribution and how the effect that'll have on you personally and your income tax. And, for those people that aren't comfortable handling taxes themselves, have a tax professional in your arsenal as well, or in your corral, to help you look at these things and make sure that you're in the most prosperous spot possible.
Yeah. And what's the worst thing anybody can do?
Nothing.
Exactly. So we run into that a lot, is people, well, we know it's coming, but we're going to wait until then. Well, guess what? Once tax rates increase, there's not a whole lot you can do at that point in time.
One of the things, too, I always talk to people about is one of the fallacies that we've been told by the government our working lives is that when we retire, we're going to be in a lower tax bracket. So that's why you put all that pre-tax money aside. And now we have clients coming in that's retired or retiring that's got a pension, Social Security, and RMDs coming in making more than they were when they were working. Not everybody that's in 20 years from now is going to have a pension probably that's retiring, so it may change. But right now, there's a lot of clients that are making more money now than in retirement than they were when they were working. So guess what? Your tax bracket is going up because of your income, not because of your age. So the more income you make, the more you're going to pay. And at the same time, if the tax goes up, you're going to be even paying more. And I don't know about you, but the less money I pay Uncle Sam, the better off I like it.
I think that's pretty universal. People want to pay, what they're obligated to pay, I think, but not a penny more than that. We mentioned, at the beginning of this episode, we talked about Harry Dent and his market predictions. And here's the truth of it. If you've got time on your side and the market goes down, if you can wait it out, it historically has rebounded. When it comes to taxes, well, once you write that check to Uncle Sam, it's gone. That money is not coming back. And if you don't think that taxes are going to go up in the future, I genuinely hope that you're right. I think we all agree that that is an ideal situation. But here's the truth of it. As of this recording, $34 trillion in national debt, $34 trillion and rising. We just hit 33 a couple months ago. So that continues to go up. That money has to come from somewhere, almost certainly in the form of higher taxes. And Tim, as you said, the worst thing to do is inaction. Think of it kind of like the Roadrunner cartoon. Wile E. Coyote is going into the tunnel. He sees a train coming. What does he do? He holds up an umbrella and just hopes that that's going to be okay. No, that's not the case. Get off the track. Figure out ways to mitigate what you owe to Uncle Sam down the line. The team at Welcome Home Financial Partners, they can help develop that tax strategy as part of the comprehensive plan, in addition to an income strategy, in addition to so many other things in retirement that I think a lot of pre-retirees haven't thought about before. That is the power of that second opinion to show you what you could be encountering down the line and how to mitigate the effects with you. All starts with that phone call, 804-635-3550, whether that is coming in just for that complimentary appointment or a complimentary second opinion on your plan as it stands now. Maybe there's a couple tweaks that can be made. Real easy to get in touch with, 804-635-3550, or just click the link there in the podcast description. Take you right to the website, welcomehomefp.com. Want to thank you, as we always do, for joining us here on Aspire to Retire with Ralph Short, Tim Short, and Scott Earhart. Please have a great day ahead of you. Guys, appreciate the time as always. And as we wrap up, I'm going to leave you with the final word.
Yeah, so anybody who's listening to the podcast and, wants to take action, doesn't want to be like Wile E. Coyote and put up an umbrella in front of the train, give us a call. We'll sit down with you. We'll talk through some things. There's a lot of opportunities out there that people just don't take advantage of. So if you're listening, you're interested, pick up the phone, give us a call, visit our website. You can fill out some information. We can contact you instead. So that would be my last word.
All content is for information purposes only. It is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decision, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication or future results. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Welcome Home Financial Partners and Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC. The information contained in this material has been derived from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness and does not purport to a complete analysis of the materials discussed. All information and ideas should be discussed in detail with your individual advisor prior to the implementation. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstance. Advisor services are offered by Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Virginia. Being registered as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Insurance products and services are offered through WPI Holding, Virginia Insurance License Number 138509, an affiliated company. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any residents of any state other than the state of Virginia or where otherwise legally permitted. Welcome Home Wealth Advisors, LLC, and Welcome Home Financial Partners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency.